Not sure if we're on YouTube or not. This is so unprofessional. I'm sorry, bro.
No worries.
Oh, we are live.
Oh, there you
We're
go.
in fact live. Okay, cool. So, Carl, what's up, man?
Yes. Not much. I'm still at work, actually.
You're at work.
Well, I actually came here because I left work, went home for a bit, and then came back because my house is full of kids right now and very noisy. So I thought I'll come down here and be a little quieter. So
What do you do for work?
I do a bunch of things, but my real main job, I own a pet store. So I play with fish all day and sell dog food and tropical fish and reptiles, all that stuff. So, and then I have 50-inch apparel. So I sell Musky clothing. And then I have CL Fishing, where we make spinnerbaits and jigs and things like that. So
Wait, are you the owner of 50-inch apparel?
I am the owner of 50-inch apparel, yes.
I always wondered who owned that. Oh, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
actually,
Man.
I'll show you. I'm in the 50-inch den right now. So
Okay. Guys, come out. I know you guys probably already heard of 50-inch apparel. Plug yourself away, bro. Like, it's beautiful merch. I actually want to get something myself.
well, I know a guy. He can hook you up. So
Of course you know a guy. That's awesome, man. That's what's up. So what inspired you to start that?
50-inch?
Yeah.
Well, I love fishing, period. But I love musky fishing for sure. Don't get to do it as much as I'd like to, but I love musky fishing.
I was going to say, I don't see you musky fish much.
I do. I don't film a lot of it because a lot of where I do it is just way too. It can't handle crowds. You know what I mean? So
No,
I'm not
I
going to.
understand that. I understand that.
So a lot of these spots are, there's room for a few of us, but not 20 of us or 100 of us,
No,
right?
it makes sense.
So I do a little bit, not like I used to. I used to be like up north all the time, French River and all that stuff for big muskies. Now I fish a lot on the St. Clair and St. Clair River, stuff like that. But yeah, I still do lots of musky fishing. Not lots, but I do musky fish quite a bit. I just don't film very much of it, and I don't talk about it a whole lot. I use the pictures on. If you look at the 50-inch on the First Drift, yes, Mikey, First Drift. I have First Drift apparel as well. It's kind of on hiatus right now. I haven't done much with it, but
who did you just respond?
What's that?
Who did you just
I can
respond
see
to?
Yeah.
There's a chat box? Oh,
yeah.
Shoot. Let's see here. Where is it? Sorry, guys. We're just learning this all right now.
You're on the right. You've got Michael Gates and Mikey C, which I know. He's actually been to my store here and bought stuff from me. Right. You've got Michael Gates
whoa.
and Mikey C, which I know.
You got a double audio here. Hold on. Where are you seeing this? I can't see it. It's on the right, you said?
Yep.
I cannot see it. Whatever.
I'll answer them for you. So I can.
We got 5 people on here. Did you have to press anything to see it?
No.
It
was just there.
Right? Really interesting. This is gonna bug me now. Because people are gonna be asking questions. I want to answer them. Okay, whatever. So, the French River. I've never fished there, but the muskies I see that come out of there, they're dark, eh?
They're big and they're dark and they're very few and far between. So you can fish for days and you might see 1 or 2. And if you hook 1 or 2 a week, at least back when I used to do it, you were doing something. But they were really big fish. Like the biggest muskies I've ever seen were in the French River.
So it's more like of a place for quality over quantity, eh?
Yeah, if you're used to Lake St. Clair musky fishing, it's not the same at all. Like it's points, humps, weed beds, that it's not just
open water.
Yeah, it's not like that. It's actual structure fishing and bait fishing. Like you're looking for bait, you're looking for points, you're looking for humps, big weed beds and stuff. Lots of I shouldn't say lots of follows. You will get follows, but they're pressured up there too. They're not dumb. They've seen a lot of baits and they get a lot of pressure. So but
No
some
kidding.
giant fish. The biggest one I've ever seen came off I was fishing a point and I got up shallow on it. So I turned around. I was actually throwing a big Pose Awakener. It's a big old topwater bait. And I threw it back out over open water, which is probably 40 feet off the end of this point. And this guy came in behind it and his head was, I don't know. It looked bigger. Of course, I'm going to say it's big, but it looked 6 or 7 inches wide. Like it's just his head was massively wide. Like it was a big fish. So well in the 50-inch range. Again, I don't want to guess and say it was some stupid big fish, but it was the biggest fish I've ever seen. I've seen lots of muskies, and that was the biggest one I've ever seen. Came in right out of open water, like 40 feet of water he came up. So he's suspended off this point, probably chasing Cisco's or whatever he was after, and yeah, it was pretty cool. Never forget that fish. So
How long do you think it was?
Brand, pardon?
How long do you think it was?
Again, I would be guessing, but it was 50 plus for sure. I can say
50
that
plus for sure. Eh?
Anything beyond that is just guesswork. So I've caught a 51, and it was bigger than that for sure. So
a 51 is massive, man. If you're saying it's bigger,
yeah,
that's wild. So, what were the baits you throw out there? Are they the same thing, or are you throwing more bucktail?
So we're going back a ways. Like I haven't been in the French for probably 10 years now. So back then we didn't have the array of baits, especially the soft plastics. There just wasn't anything like that. There was no bulldogs and shadzillas and all that kind of stuff, right? So a lot of bucktails, like burning bucktails, mostly single blades because double blades weren't even that popular back then.
Really?
Big swim whizzes, lots of big top waters. But mostly, probably the most fish I've hooked were on just bucktail spinners.
What's the depths in that area?
Oh, you can find tons. There's 100 feet of water in that river, but we were mostly targeting, I don't know, it'd be 20 feet or less for sure. They were mostly weed line, big, massive weed beds, like out on the deep drop, like where the weed edge was on the deeper end, which would be 10, 12 feet probably, where the cabbage kind of started to peter out. So a lot along those edges. You'd see some up shallower than that, but most were on those far edges.
And that water clarity is it's a darker water, eh?
It's like a yellow, it's tannin stained, like that yellow tea stain, yeah. So
it's never crystal clear, eh? Never like Lake St. Clair.
It's clear, but it's yellow clear. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I know what you mean, like a tea color.
But it's not Lake St. Clair clear. No, it's a yellowy clear, that tea stain to it. So. And that's what I like, the gold colors, golds and coppers and things like that. They flash a lot better in that water. So all our bucktails would be gold or copper. I used to make bucktails too, so I'd always make copper ones, copper and black and stuff like that for myself.
Nice.
You don't see a lot of copper on the shelves anywhere, but copper is pretty good in that watercolor. So.
Okay. And guys, real quick, I just want to say, check out Carl's YouTube channel. Amazing YouTube channel. Carl, tell them your channel.
It's Carl Outside.
Carl Outside. Yeah. Beautiful channel.
I think I just cracked 100 videos on there. So.
Ooh, nice. And you got a good amount of subscribers up on there.
Yeah, I think we just cracked 3,400 or something. So it's
awesome.
Coming. It's a grind. It's YouTube, right? So.
Yeah, I know, bro. Tell me about it. So when did you start it?
In earnest? Oh, maybe 2016, something like that.
Oh, wow. Nice.
And I don't pump out lots of, I see some, like you pump lots of videos, right? Which I'd love to be able to do that. But I probably only do a video every couple of weeks to a month, something like that. I don't get a lot, maybe 20 a year, something like that. I don't get a lot out, but.
Because you're busy, right?
Pardon me?
You're a busy guy.
Yeah, well, I got a lot of projects. And my kids are at the age now where I want to kind of focus on them. I used to fish lots of bass tournaments. I'd be gone all summer doing bass tournaments. And
oh, really?
I don't want to commit to that anymore. I want to stick closer to home, do stuff with my kids. I was just up north with my son. We did a canoe in Bass Lake overnighter. That was a lot of fun. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. I'll get back into the bass fishing tournaments and I'll do more musky fishing in the north. But right now I kind of sticking close to home, doing the family thing. And that's important to me right now. So
now talk to us about your bass tournament experience.
Well, again, I used to do lots, like back in you can go way back to Swaba days, and most guys don't even remember Swaba, but yeah, just a lot of local stuff like Lake St. Clair, Long Point Bay, Rondo Bay, those kind of things. I've had to travel. We've done some Halliburton lakes and things like that, but I stuck mostly to the regional series. We usually do fairly well. Like I haven't won a lot, but I've been in the top 10 a lot. We'll say that.
Ooh, that's nice. That's
We
nice.
do. Yeah, I've had a few different partners, and I'm still friends with all those guys. Right now, I'm fishing a lot with buddy Mike Linsmeyer here from town, and again, we just fished the Mitchell's Bay Open, and we were in the teens there out of 80. I think we were 16th or somewhere around there out of 80 some teams. So we had a really good second day. We had a big second day. Our first day, we only had 18 and change, I think almost 19 pounds, and then that put us way back in the field. And then the second day we had over 21, so that jumped us up quite a bit. But you need to do it. These guys are good, so you got to do that both days.
No,
right?
they are good. They are.
You can't screw up. You got to do it both
Yeah.
days. We just didn't do it both days. That's awesome.
So what are some tips you can give to some people looking to get into bass fishing tournaments?
Oh, just do it.
Put you on the spot there.
It's just, everybody's so afraid to do it, right? Like, oh, I go and got a little tin boat or whatever, right? Well, that's how I started. I started with my tin boat, and I have a bigger boat now, but I mean, that all comes with time.
So you don't need a big fancy smanchy sparkly boat with a giant 250 on there.
I'm not going to say that doesn't help, but I mean, you can still do it.
Oh, definitely helps.
But you will definitely learn a lot just by being there and talking to guys and hanging out with guys. And you got to start somewhere, right? You're not going to jump in a $100,000 bass boat and be a pro overnight. You still got to learn how to fish, and you still have to learn the basics. You got to know where they are and how to catch them and how their seasonal movements of these fish and where they're going to be. And there's a lot to learn. So the best thing is just go fishing and learn and join some little tournaments, join clubs. Doing pro-ams as an amateur, that's pretty amazing. Like, you get to learn a lot in a very short period of time. So those AM guys, it depends on your draws, obviously, too. But there's not a lot of, in these bigger pro-am tournaments, there's not a lot of guys that don't know how to fish. You're going to get some pretty good guys that you're going to get put in the boat with, right? So,
oh, yeah.
And you'll learn tons that way. So you probably learn more than a day with a good guide like that, or take a guide even. But these pro-ams, you'll learn a lot. And more than you would learn just tooting around on yourself. But again, it's good to learn a lot of this stuff for yourself too. So just time on the water.
Time on the water is huge. I got a question for you. Have you gotten into any altercations with another angler in these tournaments where, you show up to a spot and he pulls up right next to you and you're like, come on, man?
Nothing that came to like words or anything, but there's times where you're like, dude, you're a little closer than you need to be, but it's part of the deal, right? You can't let stuff like that screw you up. You have to deal with it, right? So that's why it's always good to have plan B's and C's, because there's a couple times, there's one particular spot on Lake St. Clair. We love to start there. If we can get there first, we'll spend 20 minutes, half an hour on it, tops, and then we're gone. And there's lots of times you just show up there and it's like, oh, someone's on it. So what are you going to do? You're going to whine about it and go over there and crowd them, or are you just going to do the next thing, right? And so some guys sometimes pull in on you like that, and you just cast in their direction a few times. Most guys get the point. There's not a lot of real jerks up. There's a few. Don't get me wrong. There's a few. Most guys are pretty good. Like, I don't have a lot of trouble with most guys, and I'm sure there's problems out there. I personally haven't had to where it's been a big deal anyways. Nothing that's really ruined my day or anything like that. No.
Okay.
Most bass guys, most of them are pretty good. I have lots of friends in the bass tournament series, and most of those guys are pretty good guys. So
now, when it comes to pre-fishing, what do you look for? What do you expect to be done when you pre-fish?
Pre-fishing to me is more eliminating useless water and getting it down to where you're catching fish and quality fish, right? So, you can eliminate a lot of water fast. It's harder to find big fish and all that, but if you can get stuff like Lake St. Clair is huge, it's a massive place, right? I've fished it for a long time, so I've got lots of spots I'd like to check. So I have a pretty good milk run of stuff I'm going to go around and check. I always try and fish something different every time I'm out there, just because I don't want to stop learning, and I don't want to get too hung up on the same old spots all the time, right? Because that can burn you too. So you always want to look for some new water. But mean, if you pull up on a spot and you're catching 2-pounders, well, there's no sense spending a lot of time there. You want to keep going, and so you just eliminated one spot, so on to the next, right? And so it's more a process of elimination to get down to where you're catching quality fish. And if you can get 2 or 3 good areas where you're catching, some 4-pound, don't need a lot of bites, you just need big bites, right? So you only have to take in 5. You don't have to take in 20 of them. So if you can get those big bites, that's what's key. So if you can get down to 2, 3, 4 spots where you're catching good ones, then you're pretty good chance you're going to get 5 good ones.
What have you noticed? What certain spots hold the bigger fish in your experience?
Well, on St. Clair, it's not really a structure thing. It's a bait thing, right? So when you find big balls of bait out there, they're not going to be too far away. Do you know what I mean? Like they're going to be where they can eat. So I don't look. Oftentimes it's along the weed line or a sandbar drop or whatever. That's often where the bait's going to be. So that's where the big fish will be. But if you cruise through an area with your electronics and you don't see a lot of bait and you're not catching a lot of fish, there's just no way I'm going to spend time there. There's a lot of bait in that lake and you can find it, and they're big balls on your graph. You'll see them, like they're around. So you want to fish near bait. You don't have to necessarily be right underneath it, but those fish are going to be in the same area as the bait at least. So you want to spend some time working your way around bait pods and stuff and see if you can catch some fish, right?
I agree. And how many rods do you bring out with you? How many rods are rigged on your boat when you're
a lot less than there used to be? So I used to rig up everything I had and be like, oh, I gotta be ready for everything, right? This last tournament, I bet you I had 7 rods rigged, 7 or 8. Like, yeah, I kind of, at least for what we were doing, once you have a plan, you know what you're doing. I mean, I have lots of gear with me and I can switch it up, but I don't need 15 rods. It just makes it confusing. Do you know what I mean? So
no, I understand.
I have key baits I have confidence in, and especially when I know that body of water and I know the water clarity, then I've got baits I have confidence in. I know what colors I want to use. I don't want to have 15 choices. I want to have 3 or 4 choices, and then if this isn't getting them, then we'll go to this or whatever. But yeah, I don't gear up like I used to. Not that I can't, because it's all there. Like I have all the tackle in the boat, but I don't have 25 rods or 30 rods or whatever anymore. Like I don't need that. I need 7 or 8 good ones, and we're good.
So what's on those rods? Let's talk about that.
Well, I'll tell you some of the things that are on it. So
listen, I'm gonna pick your brain, but I'm not looking to get your secrets. If there's anything that you don't feel like talking about, no harm taken. No worries, no worries at all. I don't want to act like I'm getting too personal.
No. So we'll just talk about Lake St. Clair because you're a St. Clair guy. I'm a St. Clair guy. So on Lake St. Clair, to win a tournament, you're going to have to fish smallmouths. So there's some pretty basic smallmouth baits that you're going to want to have. So a tube jig, some drop shot. I like kill shots for a drop shot bait. So a good tube, a good drop shot bait. I'll probably have 2 colors of tubes tied up, and mostly just so I have an extra tube to throw when I break one off or whatever right away. I fish a swim bait and a fluffy a lot, even in really
I watched
deep water.
Your video on that. You did really good. That was awesome.
The fluffy is a bait we make. The CL Fishing Company, we make that. We have a hard time. Yeah, but we right now actually CL Fishing website is offline until the fall because we can't get a lot of parts that we need. Everyone's behind. One of my jig mold guys, he's 5 months behind in production right now. So I just have nothing. So I just took the website down for a bit. In the fall, we'll have them back up. And I know everybody always wants fluffies, and they're coming.
I was going to say, I need one of those, man. I'm going to need one of those.
They are coming for sure. But if you can't get one of them, then you just throw an Angler's Choice swim bait. Those AC swim baits, the new size 40, that's what I use a lot. I either put them on a fluffy or just fish them straight up. But I fish a lot of swim baits, and I just feel swim baits get bigger than average bites for whatever reason. You'll catch the odd small fish on it, but for whatever reason, you just catch a big fish. Maybe because it's a big bait and they eat it better, but I just love fishing a swim bait.
So are you Go ahead.
So how many casts do you guys make without a catch before changing it up? A lot. I don't give up on colors too quickly, only because I have a pretty good idea. I know what works. And if you're going with something natural that matches the baits that you're around, then I don't give up on it too quick. But there's days, color does make a big difference. And sometimes it's especially when the water's a little dirty. Then sometimes you can get away with some weirder colors. But clear water, again, I have 3 or 4 pretty natural-ish colors that I'll stick to, and I don't change them up a lot. But if with my partner in the boat too, he's usually fishing. We do try and fish different things at first. So if he's smoking them on a watermelon and I've got like something pumpkin on, we're gonna switch it up eventually, right? Like you're gonna find a trend, or maybe maybe they're biting out a little bit better, so you just go to that. But I'm not like 10 casts and I'm gonna switch my bait. It's just it's a waste of time to me. I'd rather keep my bait in the water longer, try and get those fish. If you have confidence in that color and you keep it in the water, generally you're going to get bit. It's not often you have to change things too drastically. Usually it's a fairly subtle little change that you'd have to do.
So what size jig head do you use for the tubes?
Again, depends how deep I am. So if I'm, out in 20 feet of water, then it's going to be a little heavier, maybe 3/8. I don't like these big. I won't talk about that. There's a time when I use like actually a ½ ounce, almost 3/4 ounce tube jig head. But that's the exception. That is not the rule. So generally small quarters, 3/8, even 1/8 ounce, and that really shallow water when I want a nice slow kind of that spiral drop, I'll use something really, really light. But as light as you can get away with is kind of key. But in a little bit deeper water, you don't want to spend too much time waiting for it to get to the bottom. You want to get it down there fairly quick and not waste too much time. So that's when I would go to something like a 3/8 or something. But that's probably the max I would use on that lake, yeah.
Now, what are the specs on the rods you like to throw when you're throwing tubes or those type of finesse baits?
So yeah, I love 7-foot rods. I don't like short rods. So 7 foot, 7.5, anywhere in there. I have a bunch of different brands. Nobody's offered me a rod deal yet, so I use whatever I like. So I just play with rods in the store and see what I like. But 7 foot is kind of key for me. I can't use anything shorter. It just feels weird to me, and I just can't do it. So they are 7-footers, medium, pretty fast tips, lots of backbone. So you want it to bend really fast and then get strong, like stiffer quicker. So I do like a softer tip, but generally medium heavy is probably too much for me, but medium light's too. I don't like a noodle rod either. I want some backbone to it with a little bit of tips.
I see.
No short rods. I just can't do short rods.
And you just recently caught a big smallmouth, that you were looking for?
Yep. So that was kind of fun. Yeah, it's almost comical because all my friends, they've all caught 6-pounders. My buddies have been in my boat. I've had 6-pounders in my boat, just not me catching them. And I've weighed fish at 5.95 and lots of 5.9s and all these just so close. But to me, a lot of guys will say, "Oh, it's a 6-pounder." Well, a 5.95 to me is not a 6-pounder. Then I'm just, it's not legit to me. I would always know that it wasn't quite 6 pounds, right? So I finally hit a fish that was a 6.1, and that was pretty good. Of course, I'm all by myself. The pictures are crappy because I'm all by myself, trying to get it in front of the GoPro, right? But again, I have video of it, so I can watch that video. I can't show that video to anybody because that's a spot I'll fish a tournament in someday. So that video is just for me. But it's pretty cool. I can go back and watch that a few times. It's pretty good. So just as soon as it came up, this area I know has some big fish, and as soon as I saw it coming up, I'm like, oh my goodness, that's a big fish. Yeah, I got the net under it. I knew it was a 5+ for sure. I didn't know it would be a 6, but yeah, I scaled it for sure, and it's 6.1, so that was cool.
Wow, buddy, that is massive. Yeah. That is huge.
That was on a kill shot, actually. I was drop shotting with a kill shot, and I got it on that.
So how are you working that drop shot?
You do as little as possible, to be honest with you. I barely
just let it drag.
Yeah, kind of drag it, twitch. Like I'll give a little nervous twitch to it, but I'm not picking it up or jiggling it too hard. Just that bait, especially a kill shot, it does nothing. Like it does more when it's doing nothing. It'll just sit there and vibrate. That tail vibrates, and you want that subtle. That's the point of a drop shot, is subtle, right? You don't want it. It's not walleye jigging. You're not ripping it off the bottom and all that. It's just that little subtle, and it's got a little quiver to it. So if you squeeze your rod, if you're holding a drop shot in your hand and you squeeze your rod as hard as you can, that's about as much twitch because your hand will start to shake that rod. and your rod tip will vibrate, and that's all the action you want. Like they have lots of action all by themselves, right?
So what type of hooks do you like to use on the drop shot?
I use it's a little Gamakatsu drop shot hook is what it is, and I think it's a 1/0 size, I believe, is the one I use. So I really like the Gamies. I've used lots of different hooks, and that's kind of the one I've settled in on. I do like that one. So it's a little bigger than some guys like to use, but these big smallies with their big hard mouths, I really like that little bit bigger hook, and they don't seem to be shy of the bigger hooks. So
what size did you say it was again? Sorry.
I believe it's a 1. I'd have to look. I think it's a 1/0 hook is what it is.
Did you see those drop shot hooks where you tie it like 2 times? There's one at the bottom, one at the top.
I had some of those, yeah.
What's your opinion on those? I always looked at those in the store, and I'm holding it in my hand. I'm like, I don't know.
I bought them. I thought, oh, that looks cool. I'll buy that, right? I think I used it once and wasn't a big fan. And they sit. I got a pack if you want them. I'll just give them to you because I'll never use them, right? So
it just looks like too much hardware to me. Like
it is a lot of hardware. And realistically, when I tie my drop shot, your Palomar knot, I feed my line back into the hook.
Back in to get the hook to stick
and if you pull the knot through the eye, that knot will actually hold the hook up, basically. So you get you pull it through so the knot is underneath the hook again, and then you have your bait. And I don't just nose hook my baits. You can probably, I have videos where I show you, but I'll go in probably 1/2 inch and just kind of nose hook it with it so it holds it nice and level that way. A lot of times if you just hook it through the nose, like just one time through, then it can sit this way and all crooked and everything. So I do thread it on maybe just 1/2 inch or 1/4 inch, just thread it on a little bit. Helps keep it nice and level and straight.
And Carl, listen, I know you don't have long, so do not be afraid to tell me like you got to go. I'm not trying to hold you up.
Yeah, I got 10 or 15 minutes here, so we're good.
10 or 15? Okay, for the last 10 or 15, let's talk about your craziest moment fishing ever. If you can think about it, what was your craziest moment, the most absurd moment you've had, a crazy experience?
So this is my favorite muskie story, and it was actually I was bass fishing at the time, but it's about muskies, but I was actually bass fishing. So I was fishing. I was in the St. Clair River, and I had my boat sitting in. It was probably in 30 feet of water, and I was throwing up at the bank, and I had my trolling motor down, and I was on the pedal, kind of cruising upstream, holding it upstream, and all of a sudden, I don't know if you've ever hit a log or anything with your trolling motor, but if you hit something hard, it kind of bounces and jumps.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, what the heck was that? I'm looking around. I didn't see anything. I'm in 30 feet of water. It's not like I hit a rock or anything like that. No idea what just happened. And I'm like, that's weird. So I just throw it another cast, like whatever, and then this muskie, probably 10 yards off, he comes up to the surface, and I just see this muskie laying under the surface, and he sticks his head out of the water and starts to swim. And you know how a muskie, just before they're going to jump, they kind of have their head out of the water, and they're kind of getting ready to jump. Well, he's doing this with his head out of the water, and you can just see blood pouring down the back of his head. So he must have took a whack at because my trolling motor was spinning.
My God.
So I'm assuming he thought it was a big bait. I mean, it's a big big buzz bait is what it is, right? Really big.
Yeah.
It wasn't a giant muskie. Like I want to tell you it was some giant muskie. It was like a 40-incher. It wasn't even a giant muskie. But he swam like that, just kind of like with his head half out of the water. You can see the blood, and then he went down. And I thought, oh, that's okay. Oh, I started actually to trolling motor towards him to get a better look at this, and then he kind of went down under the surface. So I kind of let off, and then as soon as I did that, he did the same thing. He came up, and he was just at the surface doing that, like he wants to jump, but he didn't jump, just had his mouth there, and he's kind of doing that wiggle, and it wasn't bleeding anymore then. He was just doing it, and then he just kind of lowered himself down, and he just disappeared into the depths. I thought, that's pretty cool, but that just shows you how crazy those fish are. Like a trolling motor is it's got to be 16 inches long with a big drop on the back. Like it's not a little bait. And I don't think I just ran into him randomly. I think he must have come up and took a swipe
for it.
Motor, right? So that was pretty crazy. I've never seen anything like that.
How heavy is your trolling motor? A 55?
Pardon me?
Or a 60? How heavy is the trolling motor? 55 or 60?
Like pound thrust? 71.
Yeah.
It's 24 volt, 70 pound thrust.
Oh my God. Is that the biggest Minn Kota they got?
Oh, that one's a motor guide. The X3 is what I have on there now. This was a few years back, so I had a different motor guide at the time. I think it may have been only a 55 or something at the time then.
Okay.
But it's not the big one by any means now.
Okay.
They have 100 and something pound thrust trolling motors nowadays. So
100 and what?
I think there's 120s. There's big 36 volt trolling motors with 100 plus pound thrust for sure. Yeah.
Wow. And I've heard rumors of muskies hitting props, and I've never believed that. I always thought it was like, just a fisherman story. But to hear from you, man, that is, and isn't it wild how aggressive and how crazy our fish are? You must have been on Lake St. Clair, weren't you?
I was on the river, actually. So.
You're on the river. Holy cow. That's incredible. It blows my mind how ferocious these fish are. It's just insane.
They're kind of ridiculous. But, I mean, realistically, a 40-inch fish, a 16-inch bait, he can probably swallow. If that was a sucker, he'd swallow that no problem, right? So
now imagine throwing a bucktail. Like there's big double 12s, and this is like that's probably like a double 40. Yeah. Like a trolling motor prop. That is massive, buddy. Imagine they start coming out with bucktails like that, the size of my head.
For that, your Tranks isn't going to do it anymore, right?
No.
So.
Oh, what a workout that would be. That's incredible, buddy. That's an awesome story. It's ironic you say, because I just watched the video of a guy musky fishing. They got the planer boards out to the side of the boat, and he got footage of muskies coming up and hitting the planer boards.
Hitting the planer boards.
Big. Did you see that video?
I didn't see the video, but I could see that happening. That sounds
It blew up on the freaking on the planer board like 3 times. It was incredible. Like, he just had his camera facing at him, and you can see the background of the planer boards just jumping, right? And then you just see a giant splash, and you see like the fish come up and just thrash on it 3 times, Carl.
Oh, really?
Holy
mine learned his lesson the first time. He only whacked it once, and must have got a blade in the head and thought that was enough of that. But
and you know what?
I've seen muskies cruised off and didn't look any worse for wear after that. So
yeah, I've seen muskies with some nasty scars on them, like their backs or like their tails, their fins, and like a lot of people tell me like, "Hey, yeah, that's from a prop," and I always thought, like, how is a muskie going to be that dumb to go up against a prop? But it's starting to make sense now, because these wounds I'm seeing on the muskies, it looks like a perfect, like it would be 3 gashes.
Boom, boom, boom. Yeah.
Like a prop. Like they go up against a prop. And I always thought it was BS. It was nonsense. But I'm starting to be less skeptical about it. I'm starting to believe it a little more now. It would make sense.
Electric trolling motor is just like a giant, really giant buzz bait. But I mean, I don't know what they're thinking when they want to try and eat something like that. But I saw it. I mean, it's legit. I saw it happen. So he's probably
just like sharks.
But I saw it happen anyway. So
it's like sharks. How a shark will come up and hit something out of curiosity. I think that's the same thing going on there. I think a muskie, it just drives their lateral line crazy. The prop going, and they just want to go up and see what's going on. They want to bite. Yeah. That's awesome.
Let's see.
All right, Carl.
Yeah,
any more questions up in there?
There is a question here. Which baits do you find work best for late August, September? Again, if we're talking smallmouth on Lake St. Clair, I'm going to go with that swim bait, the fluffy and the swim bait. Sometimes we'll drag a tube around, but I'm a big swim bait fan. I really do like those AC shiners and the fluffies, or AC swim baits and the fluffy shiners. I really do like those swim baits. And
you smallmouth fish in the fall?
Yeah, it's until the lake dirties up. So, October, if the lake stays clear, October can be the best smallmouth fishing of the year on Lake St. Clair. Last couple of years, we haven't got a lot of time to fish it because the big winds come and muddy it all up, and it's over, right? So I think last year, like both the second week of October, the big storms came and the big wind came and just shut it all down. Once it's muddy, it's pretty much done. Then we go to Lake Erie and catch big ones there, right? So I kind of rediscovered Erie this year. That was a lot of fun because, again, St. Clair dirtied up so early. My friend lives closer to Lake Erie, so he had me down a couple times, and we got him pretty good down there too.
And that's deep, eh? Like you're fizzing bass.
That's a lot of dragging, which I don't love dragging. I'd rather be doing something, but we're dragging drop shots and dragging tubes and stuff. And just the number of fish was crazy, and they're so big and they're so fat, and it was a lot of fun. I hadn't done that for a long, long time, so it was kind of fun to get back at that and rediscover Lake Erie. So now this year, if St. Clair dirties up early, I got a good alternative now. So.
Well, it's a bigger fish tank.
Sure. We're going to keep at the Muskies here and do more of that this fall. I hope, anyways, this fall. So.
Man, I've never fished Lake Erie for smallmouth. That's something I've always wanted to do. I've watched all the shows and like Dave Mercer in there just catching tanks, and like I've heard of some. I've heard like like the average is like 3 pounds there, right?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of big fish. Like I don't even think I saw a 2-pounder the whole time we were out there. They were, if it was a 2-pounder in the summer, it wasn't in the fall anyways, because they're so fat. Like they're little. When they say footballs, they really are. They're that big around. They're just round. They're so full of bait. Like they're so stuffed. Like it's crazy. So I haven't done it in the spring or summer. I'm sure you can do some shallow fish in there and earlier in the season. By the time, like we were fishing in November last year out there, and big float suits on or survival suits and the whole deal because it's freezing, but still caught so many fish. It was great.
All right, Carl. Thank you for your time, brother.
No trouble.
I do appreciate you coming by.
Yeah, take care. Good luck with your channel. So.
Thank you. And once again, guys, check out Carl's YouTube channel, Carl Outside. Right. You have a great night, brother.
Thanks. Take care, guys.
Yep. How do you turn this off?